Hi everyone, Lisa Gifford here, and today we're getting ready to start on block number 5 of our Tealing Good block of the month. So we got a little bit of a late start, but if you're just now jumping in, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. We'll take a minute. We're going to go over the ones that we've done so far and what we're going to be making today on block 5, and we're just going to have a lot of fun because this one was a fun one. This one had me very confused. If you could see my table and how many post-it notes I had to use to do this block. This one, of all the ones that we've done so far, I think this one was probably the most complicated for me. And it's not that bad of a block, but you are doing a mirror image, so you really got to pay attention to the placement of all of your pieces. So again, this is block number 5. So let's walk on over to the wall, and I'm going to show you where we are and what we got going on. All right, so I already had put up the ones that we've already done, and these are all the blocks so far. So this was block number 1 that we had done, and on week 1 we did 2 different blocks. So we did 1 of block 1, and then we did 4 of block 8. So those were done on our first show. I think that was in January. In February we did block 2 and block 7. We had to do 4 of block 2 and 4 of block 7. Then our third month in March, we did block 3 and had to make 4 of those. Then last month, we did block 4, and that's this one right here, and we had to make 4 of these. So now we are on block 5, and you'll see I just got 1 of them done. Block 5, we're making 8 blocks of this one. We're making 4 of A, and then we're going to do 4 of B. Now, this one here is a mirror image. So the only thing that's really different, everything is all the same except these 2 pieces right here. So you just kind of swap them over. So this one would be on this side, this one would be on the other side for block B. There are a lot of components in putting this all together. We're going to be learning, we're going to be doing these blocks where we do the covered corners and then we split them in half. We're going to make this little before patch. And then we add these pieces to kind of make it on point. I mean, all kinds of little things that we're doing to put all of this together. So this one just had a lot of components to putting this one together. And it was a lot of fun. But on my table, which head back over there, one of the main things I have found very useful for me in doing this block of the month is having your post-it notes, because you find yourself labeling everything as you're doing your fabrics, and then you're doing your cutting. Then you're labeling them, then you're changing them again, and then you're changing them again as you're doing different components of that block. So the fabrics that we used for this one was only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We had 10 fabrics. One of them we got to use that we haven't used in the prior ones, and I think that was fabric number, we called it J. It was fabric J, and it's only used in this month. So fabric J was being used for that. So going to doing this block right here. I'm going to kind of hold it up so you can see. So I've got number of A done. So you'll see here's where it just flipped. Everything else is exactly the same except A and B, or these 2 pieces flip over when you're doing this one. So, and there are just a lot of components to doing this block. So let's go ahead and jump right in. And as I said before, be sure to have all of your fabrics nice and pressed because it's just going to make it easier for all of your cutting to be more accurate. All right, so let's go to item number 1 where it talked about the fabric requirements. So those were, you got your fat quarters, you got your fat eighths, you got your fat FS, fat 6, I think. Oh, I don't know. I can't remember. It just lost me what FS was. Anyway, you got to have all of these pieces for it. And then, so as we're going through, it tells you all the different fabrics that you had. So you're going to pull fabric D, you need 1/3 of a yard of that one. And then fabrics F, J, and M, you need 1/2 yard of those. And then G, N, and P, a fat quarter. And then H, O, and T, you need a fat eighth. And if I haven't said it before, save all of your pieces as you're doing this because you will have some leftover fabrics. And a lot of these I was able to incorporate to use in this block by using some of the ones that I previously used to just save on that fabric a little bit. So the cutting here on everything is it's all laid out here. Fabric D, you had to cut that one into 1/5, let's see, cut 5 1/8 inch strips, and then you're subcutting those into 8, 5, and 1/8 inch squares. And one of the cool things that Martelli has done is they actually made a template for me, and I used this to get all of my cuts done at the 5 1/8. This one is a 5 1/8 block. So we did have some templates that we made that were specific to this block of the month. So once you had all those cut down, then you also had to cut 1, 2 5/8 strips, and then you're subcutting those into 2 5/8 inch squares. And again, Martelli has a 2 5/8 inch square, so that helped in getting all that cutting done. Fabric F, we had to cut into 3.5 inch strips, and then subcut those into 3.5 inch squares. So I had these right here. Then you had to cut 2 5/8 inch strips, and then you had to get 24 2 5/8. Again, utilizing this to get the perfect squares for it. And then you had to cut a 1 5/8 inch strip and subcut that one into 1 5/8 by 20 inch strips. And I actually had a template made for that. So this was really fun to be able to use this one. This is the first time this ruler got utilized into this project. So I had to cut 2 strips of D with this one. And then going into fabric F, we had to cut 3.5 inch strips and make 8 3.5 inch squares. And then you're cutting 2 5/8 inch strips, subcutting into 2 5/8 inch squares, and then again you're doing a 1 5/8 inch strip, and then you're subcutting into 2 1 5/8 20 inch strips. So we got the progress. We'll be doing that a little bit later. Then going into G, we had 4 2.5 inch strips, so we're doing a lot of 24 2 5/8 inch squares. Lots of little components on this one. And then another 1 5/8 inch strips, and the 1 5/8 by 20 inch strips. H was 16 2 5/8 inch squares. J and M was done in 6 7/8 inch squares. So I got to utilize the 6 7/8 inch template, and we had to cut 8 of F, J, and M of the squares with this template. And then I used fabric N was 3.5 inch squares. I have a 3.5 inch square template for that one. And then you had to cut 3 inch squares, and then you had to divide the 3 inch squares into half. So that would have been for N, and I think it was also O. So these are my little pieces where I had cut them out, but then you had to cut them corner to corner. So I have them here, and I have them labeled here. And they're all labeled here on the tabletop here for me. And then going into P, you had to have 16 3.5 inch squares. And then finally with T, which is our darkest fabric, that one was cut into 4 1 5/8 by 20 inch strips. So all of those were all laid out here for here. And you had to cut 4 strips of those. So going into, that was item 1 and item 2. So we're going to go into item 3. So item 3 had where we start piecing order for all of them. So the first thing they had to do was grab your 1 5/8 by 20 inch strips, and then you're going to grab your T's, your G's, and your F's. So you had cut out 4 T's, and you had 2 G's and 2 F's. And the first thing that you were going to do was you were going to sew the G and a T together, as what I have right here. This is my G and T. And then you had to sew an F and T together. So this is the F and T's. So once you had them sewed, I recommend once you do that, and then you're going to go ahead and press them to the dark side, because then we're going to be trimming those down again, and then we're going to be making our little before patches with these. So get those all done, get them pressed, get them cut, and then go ahead and get them sewed. And again, one of the things I want to mention, because the block needs to finish out at 12.5 inches, you want to be sure. I found it was easier to be able to get that is if I sew at a scant quarter. Be sure to sew at a scant quarter. So on my machine, I just actually slide I have it set up for 1/4 inch, and then I move my needle over about 3 or 4 little notches to do that scant quarter. And you're going to be bouncing back and forth between having your needle in the center or having it where it might be on where you have it where you're doing a scant quarter. So the first thing going into item 2 under number 3, which is the piecing order, you had to sew the strips together, and then you were going to go ahead and subcut those. So once you got all of these strips sewed together, I'll go ahead and grab one and show you what we had to do. So once you had them sewed together, and I went ahead and trimmed, you sew them where you pressing it to the darker side. Then you're going to go ahead and take your strips, and then you're going to trim them down to, you're going to trim each one of those strips down, and then you're going to subcut them into 1 5/8 units. So this is where I could utilize using this ruler that we have for this, and just laying it down here and making sure everything is lined up, following one of the lines on my mat, and then I would just go ahead and just cut all of my strips at that 1 5/8 inches that you need. And you had to have 16 of the of both of the units, whether it's FT or GT. This one here is the GT. So you had to get your pieces sewed together and then cut 16 of these of the GT, GT, and then 16 of the FT. All right, so once you had all of those done, then you were going to go ahead and get your pieces, and I think I have them right here, and they actually get labeled A and B. So the A unit is the FT, and that's this one right here. It's the lighter one. The G is darker. So you had 16 of the A units, and that's what I had here, 1A, and I labeled the GT units, they are 1B. So then you're going to take those pieces, and we're going to make ourselves our little 4-patch. So you have to have, you're going to be making 16 of them. So to do a block A and to do the 5A and the 5B, so you're going to need to have 4. So I'm going to go ahead and grab an A and a B. And I'm going to grab 2. I'm going to just show you. I'm going to grab 2 of the, I'm going to grab 4 of them, 4 of the 1Bs. And I'm going to grab 4 of the 1As. And again, you're going to have all of these sewn to the dark side. I'm always sticking my little label right back on top of that. All right, so we're going to take these to the sewing machine and we're going to sew these. So what we do is that we're just now going to be putting them together. We're just going to flip it and we're going to put these together. And because you went ahead and pressed them to the dark side, they should nest up nice and neat for you. All right, so let's go ahead and get these 4 sewed up. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Got it. I might have got this wrong. I might have had to press one to the other way. I know. Yeah, hold on. That's right, you're going to have to press one to the dark side and one to the light side. So to the G, I flipped that over. And then you're going to place your right sides together. No, that's right, you place them both to the dark. I am just getting confused. All right, there we go. You're going to get that seam to nest. Make sure you get your seams the way you want them, and you're going to nest them. And then because I have it set at my 1/4 inch, and then I'm moving my needle over about 3 spots. 1, 2, 3. I have mine set at 8.7. But once we get these all sewed, then we have to trim them down. So be sure to get your seams to nest up. And sew those all down. We're just going to get 1 block made today. And let me know if there's any, got that one wrong, right off the bat. Get the pull-out jack. You want to have the alternate colors. There we go. I must have just had one backwards. Seams will nest up and then sew it down. We're going to just separate this and make it right. All right, so let's go to the ironing station. Let's get these pressed open. I think for these, I went ahead and pressed them open. So I had them go into the dark side, but then we're going to go ahead and press these open here. Because the next step is we got to trim them back down. I'm going to grab my little press here and set them on here as we go. And you can grab my little tool to open up the seams. Makes it a little bit easier. How's everybody doing out there? Have they gotten all caught up?
Misty Butler says she absolutely loves watching and she's doing great.
Awesome. And one more.
I was having a little slight Facebook problem on mobile, so
Get...
more people might be experiencing that. But yeah, I couldn't pull up the live on the mobile, but it works perfect on the browser version.
Okay. Did anybody notice that we had a skip on the weekly wrap up at the end? That was really weird. All right, so now I'm just doing a quick little top press. A lot of times I like to put a little steam on these just to set it. I'll go ahead and do that, just a quick little press on all steam. Just a little bit of moisture just seems to set it just a little bit more. And then set it under my block press. And there we have it.
Sandra Martin says hello from NC.
Hey, how you doing? So we're just going to be kind of casual today. I will probably get turned around. This one got me turned around. And then we had a day off, so I was working on it on Friday, and so I had a big space of time in between. So I came up today, and I was a little late getting here today because my daughter was leaving. I was helping her load up her car, and she was going back home. And it just took me a minute to get up here and then try to get my mind wrapped around this one. All right, so now you're going to have your four patches. Now, if you look at the instructions, it tells you going on to item 2 underneath number 3, you've got to go ahead and trim them down to 2 5/8 inches. So again, grabbing that perfect little template for this, I just kind of set it center, and I'm going to try to make sure when I go to trim them down, I'm trimming off a little bit off of each side. Just a hair. It's just a little slivers that you're going to be trimming off. And you're going to do this to all the pieces. Now I'm just going through a couple of them here. But I would normally, if I was just doing this at home, I would just go ahead and get all of them all done. Get them all pressed, and then I would trim them all done, and that would have that whole step completed. And then you would just go ahead and label it, because when they get labeled, when they get done, you label these Unit 2. You are making 16 of these little bitty 4 patches. There's the second one. Let's go ahead and get another one done.
Cindy Shelley says good afternoon, and Sandra says she loves those block presses.
They just make everything so much better. Nice and flat, and they stay that way. And who was it that said hello?
Cindy Shelley.
Hey, Cindy, how you doing? All right, so let me get one more here of the 4 that we had done. But I would go ahead and just get all 16. Easy little project to quickly just chain piece all of these little ones. And there they all are, down to my 2 5/8 inches. And so now you label these. And I'm going to go ahead and put them all back in order. These now get labeled to Unit 2. So I just grab my pencil and I just write U2, and that's what these are. So you use lots of clips, you use lots of Post-it notes for this one, and then I just set that one aside. So now we're going to go to where you would have cut out your F's and G's, and they were cut into also 2 5/8 squares. So now we're going to make what is called, you're going to take your Unit 2s and then an F and a D and a G, and you're going to be making your 3 A's and your 3 B's. So this is your 3A and your 3B, and I already got 2 of them already done, 3A and 3B, but we'll put one together. So this one is 3B and 3A. So there's just a little bit difference in how these are, how they look. So you make sure that you have your Unit 2 is always going to be, as I'm looking at it, it is always going to be on your top right. And then what makes the difference is where the F and G, because D's are all placed in the same spot. So let me go ahead and get these back to label. This one here is my B. This is my 3B, so I'm going to go ahead and put this back on here because we're going to construct our 3A and our 3B. All right, so I'll put these right back here. So construction of 3A and 3B.
Ron Crowley says hello from Chicago.
Hey, how you doing? How's the weather up there? Hopefully all the storms have passed and everything's going good. All right, so let's go grab, we're going to go ahead and lay out our 3A and our 3B. And I'm going to get my, forgot to grab this because I've been using this too because it holds everything nice and steady for me. So here is our, can't remember what this is.
Block design, block.
Design-a block, it's a design-a block. So I'm going to grab the 2 of the little 4 patches that we had done, and I know I just laid them on here, so they're U2s. I'm going to grab 2 of them because we're going to construct the A and the B unit at the end here. So let's grab this and taking a look at our, first let's look at Unit 3A, and it has the G, which is the darker color. It's going to be towards the left, so I'm going to lay this one here. And I'm going to grab an F and a D and a G. So I'm grabbing my 2 5/8 of my F's. Here's my G, and here's my D. And these were the squares that you would cut into 2 5/8 inches. So now we're going to take an F, and it's going to go onto the left of this piece right here. So that's my F. So it goes here. My D goes in the bottom corner underneath F, and my G goes underneath the 4 patch. So this one here is going to be our 3B when we get it all sewed up. So I'm going to go ahead and make a 3B here on my Post-it note, lowercase b. So I know that that's what, no, this one's 3A, sorry, 3A. 3A lowercase right here. So now we're going to construct, go ahead and construct what our 3B would be. So grabbing the last 4 patch, you're going to now turn your 4 patch to where the F is going to be on the left side. So I'm going to set this one here. When I pull an F out, it is now going underneath that little 4 patch, just like the D was underneath, the G was underneath it. So this one is our F. Go ahead and keep these clipped. Go ahead and grab my D, because we know it always is in that corner here. Get that reclipped, and we're going to go ahead and grab our G. Now this one here goes up on the top. This is the darker one. The F and the G look very similar. It's just that the G is just slightly darker. So here's part of that little bit of that mirror image that's going along here. So this one is 3B. I utilized, again, the Post-it notes throughout all of this. So then I would go ahead and just, if you had all of them done, just go ahead and stack up all of them because you are literally making 8 of the 3As and you're making 8 of the 3Bs. And then have it on your designer block and take it over to your machine and get these sewed up. So I'm going to go ahead and walk these over there. And be sure to have trimmed these up. You had to have these trimmed up because all these are 2 5/8 inches also. So let's go over here and let's start getting some sewing done. Let's start with my 3A. Grabbing the top 2 and just placing right on top. And we're going to stitch this down at my scant quarter. I always double check, make sure we're at that scant quarter. And grab the last 2 here, keeping it in order, and stitch these down. Now you could chain piece all of these. Here's a quick little hint here. You can keep them connected. I'm going to open them back up. And you'll notice that the one that has the seam right here, that's the direction that seam wants to go. So I'm going to go ahead and give that one a finger press. And this one I'm going to finger press in the opposite direction. Now I'm just going to go ahead and line them up, match them up, making sure my seams are nesting right there. I didn't get anything out of order. I didn't even separate that stitch there. And then we're going to go ahead and stitch it down right here. Now I'm sitting here thinking I did it backwards. We're going to go ahead and stitch it, see what I got. I tell you, I got turned around a lot on this one. It got me. You see that? I think we're wrong. Had to stitch it on the other way. What did I do? Hold on. No, I got it right. There we go. I got so turned around doing this project. All right, so now I'm going to grab B. Who hasn't gotten turned around doing a project? And then again, I'm bringing this one over. Keeping everything the same, just lining up my edges. I'm going to open it up. Back to how I had it laid out. So I can see which direction I need to be pressing my seams. This one here is going to be going towards the G. And this one's going to be going towards the F. Just giving it a little finger press. Then I'm going to go ahead and match them up. Match up my centers. And then give this a stitch down. All right, now we're going to go ahead and give these a press. Now these seams, I believe I went ahead and pressed these seams open. So let's press B first. It wants to go towards this way. I think I'll just let it go the way it wants to go. I'm just going to give it a press. And again, don't stretch it and pull it, just give it a press. And then we're going to lay our block press right on top of there. And this one is A. So this is our 3B. And this is our A. So let's go back and see what the book tells us to do next.
And on your way, Rhonda Crowley says it looks like a storm is going to be coming through right now.
Oh my goodness.
Says, I always keep my seam ripper
I have been using, that's too funny. I have been using Jack so much on this one, particularly today, because when I was working on this on Friday, I was really in the zone, but I couldn't get it finished. And so then we had Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. So today, got coming in late, just had to get myself refocused. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and line up my 3 Bs back together and keeping them all the same, and my 3 A's together. Now, what the book tells us here at this point is that they should measure a certain. So let's take a look and see what that final measurement is going to be. It should measure 4 3/4 inches unfinished. So I always like to take a look at that. So let's grab the one that we just did, this 3B right here, and see how close we are to 4 3/4. And we are right on the money for 4 3/4. So I didn't have to change anything on this one. Let's take a look at our 3A we just did. And right there, 4 3/4. So that's what you need it to be. All right, so once you got your 3A's and 3B's done, just set them aside, because now we're going to start the next step. All right, got my D's, F's, and G's. All right, so that one's complete. So now we're going to go to line item 4. And line item 4 has us stitch 2 N 3-inch triangles. So grab your N 3-inch triangles. They're going to be slightly larger. And I think they are going to be, it takes me a minute to find it, because I got so much on the table. Oh, that's the ones, that's these. These are the ones that you had cut in half. So here's my 3-inch triangles that were cut in half. So here's my N's, and you're going to need your O's. So you're going to need the O's and the N's, the ones that you had cut from corner to corner. And then the other block you're going to need is your H's. So we're looking at line item number 4, and these are my H's right here. And these were cut at 2 5/8 inches. So what we're going to do is you're going to create what is going to be unit 4A and unit 4B. So you take 2, I'm going to just go ahead and grab 2 of the H's of both of them here, because you're going to put 2 O's on an H, and then you're going to put 2 N's on the H's. So how these are going to be done is you're going to have these kind of like at an angle, and you're going to take your N's and you're going to be stitching them on each side like this. So you're sewing one side and then you're sewing the other side. And you're going to do that to all of your for all of your O's that are split in half and all of your N's that are split in half, to get all those done. So I'm just going to grab 4 of these of the N's and grab 4 of the O's. And this one again, another one of those blocks that just got me turned around very easy. So I'm not quite sure what the name of this block would be. Anybody have any ideas? This one just kind of, I don't even think they have a name for it. But this component, 4A and 4B, becomes another component that's going to be going and added to another block. So let's go ahead and get all of these sewed up, our O's to one and our N's to the other. And they're going to look, see if I want to have any of them finished up here. I'm not sure if I do. Hold on. They're 4 A's and B's, right? That's what we're looking for. So this is the 4A. So this is what our 4A is going to look like when we get them done. So we're making these units here. And then we're making 4B, the 4B unit. And that's this one right here. All right, so let's go get these all sewed up real quick. Put my little clip back on here. I don't want them to fly off. Any other questions out there? We good? We good? Ready to move on to the next step?
We are.
All right, so let's move on. Okay, so I was trying to think of what was the trick that I had done that kind of made me to figure this out a little bit easier. So I know we have these right angles here. So you're looking for which one is your right side. This is my right side. And I think I'm just lining up the angle here. I'm lining up this corner here with the corner on the block, and then you just sew down. And then you're going to do that on all of the pieces, and then you're going to flip it, press it, flip it, and then you're going to line it up for the other side. So we're going to do, again, our 1/4 inch all the way down, lining up the edges, the angles here. You got your right angles that you're going to be lining up. And again, I think this is a good one where you can just chain piece all of these through. Make sure you get the right sides. I have sometimes a hard time figuring out what is the right side on batiks. Go ahead and get the beads done because they're the exact same thing. There we go. So I have the triangles on top for this first step. These all separated out. All right, so taking a look at the one, I pressed these towards the block. I pressed them towards the dark. And I believe I did them on both of them. So we're going to go to the iron, we're going to press these toward the darker square. So you're going to flip them over to be able to do that because you're just going to roll this back. So let's give ourselves a little, set that seam, roll it back. You don't want to do a whole lot of pressing on this one. You got a lot of bias that's going on right here. So just don't push your iron, just set it down. And then lay it underneath your block press. Again, same thing, set the seam and then roll it back. Wrong way. So the first half should be where you got this nice straight edge going on right here. All right, so let's get these and we'll get the next step done. So we're just going to be matching up the same colors to each one. All right, starting off with these here. So you need them to be where it will be putting the other one on the other side. So you know it's going to go here. Not the opposite side, but on this. So you're going to be lining it up like this. So we're going to take this piece right here. This is where I need for it to look. I'm going to lay this down. Flip it over. Now I've got to where I have that angled here, and now I'm going to be seeing the dark, for me, I'm going to be seeing the dark side on top, and we're going to stitch it down this way. And I'm going to line these up every single one because this is one that did get me turned around on this one. It was just easy to do. So I know it's got to go on that spot. So I'm going to lay up these straight edges right here. And then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to sew it onto the dark side and coming off this way. You're going to see this little point that you're going to be coming off right there in the center. All right, and then now we're going to grab the other ones. And knowing that this has to go here like this, matching up my points here. This one had me turned. Flipping it over, and then we're going to stitch it down on the other side. However you can wrap your mind around it. And last one. Easy here. All right. Get these all separated out. Go ahead and trim off a little bit of this. Let me see if I can. Hold on. I might not need to. Yeah, you're going to be trimming off some of those dog ears. We'll do that at the ironing station. All right, so let's get these pressed back. And I think I do the exact same thing. I want it to press towards the darker side. So we're going to have them on top here, and I'm going to give it a little heat to set that seam, and I'm going to roll it back. And what I am looking for on this block here, I'm looking for this straight edge here, but I'm also looking for this seam allowance right here, because this is what you're going to be stitching into right here when we go to attach this onto our next component. You want to have a good seam allowance going on right there, and you want this to be nice and straight. And then we got some little bit of bulk that we can trim off at the end. Set my seam and then roll it back. Just kind of lightly press it. Don't stretch it. A lot of bias right here. Rolling it back, looking for that straight edge and my seam allowance right here. And press. Okay, we'll let that one sit under here. I'm going to take these, I'm going to flip them over. So I see a lot of stuff that I can go ahead and just trim away on the back side here. Maybe this little piece right here, just removing some of that excess material, but not messing with anything that's going on this edge. So we're going to take these little bitty dog ears off. Your long armor will appreciate that, not have so much bulk on here. That little piece right there. And then the last one. Don't have to, but it just seemed like it made it lay a little bit better. All right, so those are done. And I think you're making, I'm not quite sure how many, about 16 of each one, or it might be 8. Let's take a look what the book has to tell us. Our A's and our B's, 4 A's and 4 B's. So you are making 8 of the 4 B's and 8 of the 4 A's. So I'm going to go ahead and get these in the right order, and then we'll set these aside, move on to the next one. 4 A's and 4 B's, all labeled and set aside. Okay. Now it has us going to item number 5 under the heading of the piecing order. So item number 5 has you grab your F's. So after you get all that done, any remaining F's that you have left, that was the 2 5/8, and that would be these pieces right here. Any pieces that you have left, you're going to draw a line from corner to corner on all the F and G's that are 2 5/8 inches. And I have them already right here. I've got my line drawn on all of these. Here's my F and G's. And with I was able to use a regular pencil to draw my line on these because it was a little bit of a lighter fabric. If it was a dark fabric like the T's or some of these really dark ones, this is where I'm using the Martelli pencil that has the ceramic white lead in here, and I'll use that. And I think I have it in some places in this project right here on this block. So here's my F and G's, and I had to, the remaining ones that are 2 5/8 inches, you're going to go ahead and draw your lines on them. And then it has you take all of your F's, N's, and P's that are your 3 1/2 inch squares. So that would be this one, and this one. All of your 3 1/2 inch squares. So all the P's and your N's and F's that are 3 1/2 inches, you're also drawing the lines on all of those. And that's in preparation for the next step. So this is where we're going to be doing some stitch and flipping. All right, so go into the second page of this block, and now we're line item number 6. It tells us to arrange 2 marked G's, that would be these pieces right here, the marked G's that are 2 5/8, on the opposite corner of fabric D, which was your 5 1/8 inch square. So that's this one right here. So here are my D's that are 5 1/8, and you had to cut out 8 of those. So you're going to make unit 5A, and I actually have, I think, a 5A already done somewhere here. I don't know. Maybe I did. I don't know. All right, we'll go on to 5A. So you're going to go ahead and I'm going to grab 2 of them. 2 of the D's. 4 and the G's, because you're going to put them onto the G's with the D's, and then you're also going to take the F's and put them onto the D's. And that will make unit 5B. So 5A is the G's with the D's. That's these here. And then 5B is going to be these right here with the F's. So we're going to be putting these on the opposite corners of these. And then I think we cut them in half. So let's go ahead and get these all sewed up real quick. Don't need the D's. So this one here is where you're going to be having your needle in the center. So let's start with our G's and our D's here. So I'm going to put my needle in the center. You're going to make sure, look and figure it out for your D fabric, which one is right side up. That's right side up. And we've done the covered corners earlier. So you would have already marked all of your G's on the line onto the wrong side. So you're just going to lay it out and match up your corners. And then when I go to do my sewing on this one, I'm starting on that line, but I like to be like a thread over of the line that you've drawn from center to center. Now, if you notice on my machine, I actually put one of these strips on here to do the center. So I thought it was helpful, but I still like my trusty line. So I'm going to sew right like a thread into the left or into the right of that line. So as I lay this under here, and I've got my needle set in center, I'm going to sew just a thread or 2 over to, on me, it's to the right of that line, because that's going to take away from the fold when you have to fold it back. So first thing you're going to do, make sure you got the right side up. You're going to lay your fabric on here, and you're going to stitch it just to the right of that line or right on the line. And just go all the way across. And this is one where you could just chain piece all of these together. I'll go ahead and pull my F's into this one. And you get all of them done. Can't remember how many we're doing. I think you do 4 because we split them in half. Right, so now we're going to go ahead and get these separated, and then we're going to go ahead and do the other side. Now if you want, you can sew another stitch about a 1/2 inch away from the stitch you just did, and you can create some little bitty half square triangles. Before I go to sew, I like to fold it back, make sure all of my edges are lining up. Here, here, and here, and everything's good. So matching up the same color that you had before. And you know what? This one's not looking so good. I'm going to show you this. It is not lining up on the lines. So we're going to pull out Jack. I'm going to show you again. It is not matching up. So I was just a little bit off on this one. We're going to get our little seam ripper out. We're going to fix that.
Shout out to Miss Crowley.
What?
Keeping that seam ripper on deck.
Absolutely. I have gotten myself turned around, like I said, on this one, and then it's so easy to just come in more than what you wanted to on this. Catch it first before you get too far down. Stubborn little thing, don't want to cut for me. There we go. Get my little threads out of the way. And we're going to redo that one. That one did not line up right. Okay. Set that back on that point. We're going to try to stay a little bit into that line. Bringing it over. Let's see if this one made it a little bit better. Oh yeah, much better. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and do the other side. So be sure to match up the color per color. We're doing the opposite corner. And now we're getting the ones with the F's. I think these are O's. No G's. This is F and G's. F and G is being sewed onto the D's. All right, we'll separate these and then we'll do our test little fold back, making sure everything's looking good, right where I need it to be. And last one. Very good. So let's get these pressed and then we're going to trim them down. I like to always set my seam a little bit here, and then I'm just going to give it a finger roll back gently, and then we'll set it with the iron. Because again, we're dealing with some bias on those folds right there. Any other questions?
No.
We good?
Everyone seems to be following along just fine.
There we go. So our next one will be the end of June. I don't know the date, and that'll be number 6. I haven't even had a chance to even look at what number 6 looks like. I hope it's easier than this one. This one was a tough one for me. Set my seam, set my stitches, and then back and back. Then we'll get these excess material trimmed away. And then we'll go to the next step. All right, so that's the next one. Now we're going to be cutting these in half if I'm not mistaken. All right, so let's go cut some of these in half. We'll trim away our excess material. This is where it'd be good to have your scissors. You can just trim it away, or you can use your rotary cutter. The ones with the G fabric is called 5. These are going to be the 5As. So I'm going to just pull it back a little bit. I'm going to trim away about 1/4 inch from my seam line. So I'm going to do that on both sides. So I'm just folding back the one, keeping these two together, and just trimming about 1/4 inch away from the stitches. Is everybody all caught up? Got blocks number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 blocks we've done so far. This one. And one more. I'm actually using the Martelli number 10, the 10-inch scissors. These are just great for this kind of work. Right, got that all done. All right, so the ones with the F, they are the B's, and then the 5A's. So now we're going to cut these in half on the diagonal. So I'm going to grab one of my little rulers. I just got a little 2.5 by 12. And we're going to cut it from corner to corner, the opposite corners of where we had our covered corners are. Or stitch and flip, or several different names for that one. So we're just going to line it up. And we're just going to slice them right in half. I'm doing the G's. And they get another name. So these with the G's are called the 5A's. So get my little Post-it. I think I actually have one already done here. Here's my 5A's. So I'm just going to put them all together. Here's my 5A's. And then go ahead and trim these in half. And last one. And these are the 5B's. Now it told me that looking at here, I thought this was kind of odd measurement. It says when they're in diagonal, they're going to be 5 1/8 by 5 1/8 by 7 1/4. So I didn't quite understood what that meant. I just didn't get it. So I didn't know if there's no trimming down of these. So here is the 5A's and here is the 5B's. 5A's, 5B's, 5A's. So you're going to get all those done, and you're going to have 8 of your 5B's done and 8 of your 5A's done. So then once you have those done, just go ahead and set those aside. So now we're going to go into line item number 7. So this is where we're going to go ahead. We got all our components done. Now we're going to be making what is called units 6A and 6B. So you use the unit 4A's and the unit 5A's to make 6A, and then you use unit 4B and 5B to make unit 6B. So it changes names on you again. All right, so I actually have 2 of the A and B's done. This one is 6A and this one is 6B. So if you can see here, we have our 4A unit here, and here is our 5A unit on the other side. So you make 8 of the 6A's and 8 of the 6B's. So I thought that was nice that we got to just pull the A's, the 4A and 5A. That's these right here. Here's my 4A and 5A, and you're going to sew these together, and then you're going to sew together your 4B's and 5B's together to make your B unit. So we're just going to grab 2 of them. So we'll grab 2 of the 4A's, and we'll grab 2 of the 5A's. We'll sew those together. Keep the extra ones together, and then we're going to grab 2 of the 4B's. And 2 of the 5B's. And we're going to get these units sewed. And you will be making 8 units of 6A and 8 units of 6B. There's the 5A's, 5B's. So I'm going to grab my board back, put these all on here. So these are my B units, so they're going to be sewed together here. And I'm going to get myself a little label made, it says 6B. Well, it's a lowercase b. I always try to keep it in the same 6 lowercase b. And these are the A units. So they're going to be sewed together. And these are 6 lowercase a's. So you'll be making 8 of this one and 8 of this one. We're just going to do 2 of them. All right, let's get to sewing. Okay, let's start with our A units. So what we're looking for here, remember this one when we did these, we wanted to make sure we had our good 1/4 inch right here so we don't sew off that point. So we're just laying these over, but if you want to kind of have that lighter on top so you can make sure you're not sewing to your point, you're just matching up. I found matching up the points here, and then you're going to be stitching down. This is all bias, every bit of this. So just be very careful when you're sewing this down. I'm lining up my points. Not sure if we have to trim them down. Let's take a look at that again. Once we get them sewed, the A and the B units, it doesn't have you doing any trimming of them. So once it's finished sewn, all of them, they should measure 4 3/4 inches square unfinished. Making sure, yeah, so the 6 A's and 6 B's will be 4 3/4 inches sewn together unfinished. So I am matching up my points here. To me, this is what's going to be most important, lining up my edges here, and then I'm going to stitch down. Now, if you didn't press too hard, didn't stretch or pull, everything should line up really nice. And we're going to do our 1/4 inch seam all the way down. Now, oops, got to change it to your 1/4 inch. And be sure to, if you're doing the scant quarter, slide your needle over to that position. Keeping everything lined up. And stitch down. All bias right through here. Let's get our B units done. Last one. We should be getting our fabric in pretty soon for our next block of the month. And I'm looking at getting another one too. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right. Get these separated. And we'll get these pressed. I'm going to grab the ones that we had done earlier. I'm trying to remember how we pressed these. And I went ahead and pressed them, the A's and the B's, away from that seam. So you got that little bit of seam. I'll show you when we get over here. So I didn't want to fold it back onto our little point right here. So we're folding it away from that. So we're going to set the seam and we're just going to roll it back gently. Lots of bias right here. You can easily distort this block. I think I even thought about maybe pressing this seam open. We decided not to. You're going to have some dog ears that you're going to want to trim off. So this one here. Press it away from it. And gently roll it back. And press it. How are we doing out there?
So far, so good. Joan Adams joined us.
Hey, Miss Adams, how you doing? I was worried about being able to get this block done in our time, because this one has a lot of components to it. We'll have to take a look and see what the next one's going to look like. Making sure you didn't stitch down and lose your point. I'm really close on this one, but I'm going to let it slide. I am so close to losing my point. Never want to lose a point. Ooh, this one's just as close. Very, very close. I might have redone that one. All right, so we're going to go ahead. I'm going to trim off our little bit of our dog ears right here following that edge. We're going to go ahead and get these, we're going to measure these to see how close we are to that size that we need for it to be. Here and here. And the last one. Here. And catch the other side. That cleaner and get our little dog ears off. All right, so let's go see how close we are to our measurement for our 6 A's and our 6 B's. All right, it tells us that they needed to measure, again, it was 4 3/4. That one's good. Turn it again. Right on it. So I needed them to be 4 3/4 and they worked out very good. So we're going to go ahead and match them up with the other 6 A's and B's, and I don't get the dog ears trimmed off of these. So this is my 6 B's. And keeping my label on there. And here are my 6 A's. All right, so let's set these aside and let's go to the next step. Next step has us, now we're creating what's going to be block 7. So once you got done with all of those units, now you're going to be making, and block 7 is the same all the way across. So you're going to make 8 of block, what they're calling it, unit 7. So if I'm not mistaken, it's this right here, and it is the centerpiece to the final block of the block 5A and 5B. So you got all those components that you had to get done. Now we're going to put those together. So you're going to put together your unit 6A's, your unit 6B's, and your unit 3A's, and you're going to be putting this together into this, A and B's. All right, so let's start with our A and B. So you're going to grab 1A and 1B for each one. And we're going to be needing to make 2, but we'll just do 1 because I already got 1 done. So we're going to grab 1A, and we're going to grab 1 of the 3 B's. Don't want to forget which one they are. And I'm going to grab my design board. So they're all sewed together to make unit 7. And you will be making 8 of these. So you're going to take your 3A and your 3B and looking at the orientation of where it is. So you want the checkered, the 4 patches are in the center. So I'm going to take my 3B, and it seems to be on the right. Did I get turned around already? 3B. Okay. So you're turning this where you've got the 4 patch. I'm going to grab this 4 patch because this one looks a little off on this one. I see a spot I need to correct, so we'll grab this one. All right, so you want your 4 patch to be in the center. So you're going to have the darker greenish fabric that's going to be at the point. You got your F and your G. F is up here on the center, and then G on the bottom here. This one here is your 3A. So 3A, you're also going to have the 4-patch here. You're going to have that green. I believe this was D, fabric D. It's going to be on the opposite corner. So you got your D's opposite corners here and here. You've got your G's here and here, and you got your F's here and here. I want to make sure I've got it looking the exact same on this one, because it goes like this. GG's, DD's, here and here. So now you're going to grab your 6A's and your 6B units. So that would be these right here, these blocks right here, A's and B's. The A unit is going to go to the left of this one here, of the one, it's going to be on top of the other 4-patch. And you want the darker color and your light fabric to be here in the left quadrant. That was your A. And the B is going to be on the right lower quadrant. So let's grab a B. Just grab one. And of course the darker color, the squares are going to be on the corners. So you got all the squares on the corners. You got your little 4-patches in the center. So let's get these all lined back up. And you will be making 8 of these exact units with your A's, your B's, your 6A's, with your 3's, A and B, and your 6's, A and B. And that is how this is going to lay out right, okay, just like this. So then you're just going to sew this together like a 4-patch. So you could have all of your stacks right here and just be chain piecing all of these together. So grabbing 2 of them, remember we didn't have to trim these down. They were all supposed to measure 4 and 3/4. So you're just going to put it right sides together and you're going to stitch it all the way down. Everything should line up. I don't even think there's really anything that I'm matching up as for seams on this one. You're just doing your scant quarter all the way down. Just lining up your edges. And then we'll get this one. Open it back up as we sewed it. And then we're going to determine, all right, so which direction do we need to press it? Because we have a lot going on with the 4-patch, I am going to press it away from the 4-patch. So I'm just going to do it a little finger press right here. And there you'll find by doing that, it's going to be in the opposite direction. And they will line up nice and neat when you go to do your next step. So I'm pushing my fabric away from the little 4-patches on both sides. And then we're going to line them together. And then we're going to stitch it down the center. So that only seam that looks like we're going to be matching up is going to be that center seam. Is that thunder or is that a car I'm hearing? Yeah. Somebody's radio is loud.
He always shows up around 3.
Oh yeah. Lining everything up, trying to make sure I get everything all square. I'm going to stitch it down. It's like the only seam I'm looking to nest up is that center seam. So let's go to the ironing station and get this nice pressed nice and flat. So this one is our 7 unit and we are literally really close to being done. So I'm taking a look, and there's so much going on here. This is a seam that I think I would like to have this one pressed open. So we're going to go ahead and get this one started. We're going to press that final seam that we had done open. Just a lot going on. I'm going to grab my little tool. This one. I don't know where my little tool is. James, where's my tool? Oh, I think it's over here. The little tool I like to use for pulling apart my seams is this one, I think, right here. My little paddle. Just kind of opens it up for me. We're going to get this pressed open here. That little 4 patches right there. Lifting, pressing, not sliding it. And we're getting these seams that we had finger pressed and setting that a little better. Little thread here. Okay, so now we're going to give this a good press. Probably give this one a little bit of steam and set it under the larger block press. And again, you're making 8 of these units that are all identical. And we're going to give this a set. And that is this center piece right here. So it's going to be on point as we go to put these units on. Again, we've got our mirror image thing going on here. All right, let's see if we need to trim this down a little bit. Tell us where our dimensions are going to be. This one here measures out to be 9 inches square unfinished. So let's take a look and see. I think that was my ruler there. Nope, that was my phone. Everybody with me? Everybody doing good?
So far, so good. Verna Sheepfeld says, hey, Lisa.
Hey, how you doing? All right, so I am right on my 9 inches. I see I came down just a little bit here, but I see I went over here. So I'm going to straighten this up, this little edge right here. I have a little wobble going on right here. Right there. So we are going to take a second and just square that, just take that little wobble off that happened on this edge. It's just a little bit. 9, 9. Pretty darn close. All right, so you're going to go ahead and make 7 of, or you're going to make 8 of unit 7. And they're all, like I said, all identical. 4 of them are going to be now turned into your unit 5, block 5A, and then block 5B. But we got a little bit more work to do before we can get to that point of sewing the blocks up. So we're just going to take our unit 7 and just set it aside. All right, so now we're moving on to line item 9. Now you're going to grab your marked end fabrics, your 3.5 inch squares. That's these right here. And your M fabrics, which is 6 7/8. So this is your big M fabric, 6 7/8. That's these right here. And you're going to sew them like we had done earlier with the when we did the unit 5A and 5B, but it's a bigger fabric, a bigger piece. So this is where you're going to be making units 8A. So I'm just going to grab one and I'm going to need 2 of my ends. These fabrics will make our unit 8A. Keeping M with you, because you're going to need it also coming up. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that. You're going to grab another M, and you're going to grab your F fabrics, the ones that you had also marked. And let me put these together. So grab another M fabric, and now grab your Fs, the ones that were marked from corner to corner, your 3.5 inches. I'm just going to grab 2 of them because they're also going to go onto the M fabric. So you're making what is called unit 8A, unit 8B, and then we're going to do unit 8C. So we're just going to go ahead and put them all together. So we got A, and we got B, and then unit 8C. This is where we're going to be grabbing our J fabric. So one of the very few times we've actually used J. So you're going to grab the J, and you have to make a bunch of these because you will be making 16 of unit 8Cs, but you only will be having 8 fabrics, 8 of the Js, and you will be putting the Ps. Let me find my P units here. So this is where you had to cut out, if I'm not mistaken, like 16 of these 3.5 inch squares. So I'm just going to grab 2 of the J units, and I will need 4, 1 on each side, of the P units. So these go on to the J's. This will make unit 8C. I'm going to put that with this one here, keeping everything labeled. We're going to be making our 8 A, B's, and C's. I actually have them here, right here. So here's an 8A, 8B, and 8C. For every one that you sew, it becomes 2. So when you're doing 8C, you'll be sewing 8 of them, but it will turn into 16 of them. All right, so we're going to get these also. So I'm just kind of keep them stacked up with the fabrics that they go with. And just like we just did with the smaller units, which was the to make the 5 A and B's, these exact same thing. It's just a little bit bigger. So you had to have your lines drawn, and then just making sure you're getting your main fabric to be right sides up, and then just get these all sewn. So this is another great project that's really easy to just chain piece these through. This is where you're putting your needle right back in center, and you're just matching up your edges. Just going to start with the A unit. Looking from a right side up, and that's this. And you're just going to line up your corners and your edges, and you're going to do that stitch right down, and again just slightly to the right of the line that you have drawn. And that goes with this one, and then grab the next one. After we get done with this one, we are halfway through. And now we're going to get the next ones done. I wish I could talk back and forth with you instead of just listening to myself. Any questions or comments out there? Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Type it in the chat. We'll read reach out.
This one on. Here we go. All right. Lost my little clips. I don't know what I did with them. Probably over there. All right, so we're going to separate these out. I'm going to test them, make sure everything's rolling back the way I need for them to be, and then we'll get the other sides done. Make sure it's going all the way to the edge, and that one looks good. So let's start this one here. Matching up the color that you had on that fabric. This one back. Looks pretty good. And we're doing this the other side. Has anybody taken a look at what number 6 looks like? I haven't even seen it yet. Here. And one more. Now there's a lot more fabric on this one than when we did the 4 and the 4 and the 5. You could easily make your half square triangles by sewing that extra strip a 1/2 inch away. I think we're good on time. I could go ahead and show you that on these. So if you wanted to have a bunch of half square triangles, what you're going to do is you're going to sew a 1/2 inch over from this line right here, a 1/2 inch over, or you could just draw another line a 1/4 inch and sew a 1/4 inch from that line. So if I was to do this, I would draw my line about a 1/4 inch away from the stitches that I had just done. Just draw a line and then go ahead and sew a 1/4 inch from that line. So we're going to go ahead and put it back on our 1/4, flip it around, and then we're going to sew a 1/4 inch from that line. And you could do that with all of these pieces, particularly with these larger ones, because you will actually get a 1/2 square triangle. And you could make a cute another little project. Maybe use all these little 1/2 square triangles to make a nice little matching pillowcase to go with this quilt. All the fabrics would just line up perfectly for that. Of course, I don't know what the size of these will be, so we'll measure one, see what we got. All right, so let's go ahead and we will get these pressed back and trimmed down and go to our final step. I think that's just the construction. This one here, I went ahead and did that 1/2 inch away from your stitches. So you're going to have your extra little piece. Just going to roll these back. And I think I have to use the larger block press for this one. Well, nope, that'll work. Just just the right size. Set my seams. Anybody been making any 1/2 square triangles with your extra pieces? Surely I'm not the only one that's...
Says it looks easier.
What?
Making half square triangles, I believe.
Yeah. Well, you're already using that fabric, and then to me, you're just saving fabric. How much is fabric nowadays? Pretty pricey.
$13.
Yeah, or more. Batiks even more so.
Oh, for sure.
All right. So those are all done. Give it a second, and now we're going to go ahead and trim off our excess material and go ahead and cut them in half, because I think that's the next step that we do, is we cut these right in half just like we did the units to make the 5As and the 5Bs. All right, so let's grab the one where I did that extra stitching, and that's this one right here. We had our little extra stitching. So I'm still going to cut right there on that line that I had drawn, a 1/4 inch from the stitches. But now I don't have to do another seam. So just like that, we're going to have 2 half square triangles, and with all of these that we're doing, you would have different sizes. So here's your extra piece, already sewed up. Go ahead, finger press it to the dark side. Let's see. Half square triangle. So let's see how big this is. This would be, well, it looks like it's 2 3/4. You could easily trim this down to a more usable size, like 2.5 inches, and do some fun things with it. All right, so this one's done. Let's go ahead and get these trimmed away. Again, about a 1/4 inch from the edge. These are the ones that we used our J fabric. The first time, only time using the J fabric is in this block right here. And one more, and then we'll cut them in half. Okay. Got to remember which ones are which. I believe this one here is going to be our 8A. So you're just going to grab your ruler and you're going to cut it in half like we did earlier. But it's a little bit bigger. So just go from point to point. And cut. So of the A units, this is now 8A. You need to have a total of 8 of these. So you'll be doing it 4 times to get 8 of the 8As. That's these right here. This one here, I believe, is our B. It's going to be our 8B. Same thing, you got to have 8, so you'll be doing 4 of them, slice them in half to get you 8. That is our B's. And last component is our 8C's. You'll be doing 8 of these to get a total of 16. Go ahead and cut this one up too. Measure twice, cut once. How many of you hear that in your head every time you go to start cut? Measure twice, cut once. This is one I had done earlier, so we'll go ahead and get this one put in with the 8 C's. Because we are at the final leg. I think all of our components are complete now to make our unit 5 or block 5As and block 5Bs. And there are our 8C units. A, B's, and C's. All right, so now you're going to go back and we're going to take a look at laying out for our A unit and our B unit. I already have block A, I think that's the A that I have done. Block 5A, so let's do block 5B. So you're going to take one of your unit 7s that you would have made 8 of these, and it's going to lay on your board. And you have the light pieces on top. Put your light pieces on top. Because now you're going to put your units all around it and we'll be sewing those on. Now you're going to grab your 8A and 8B. That's these two right here. Now depending on the unit that you're doing, which right now we're going to be doing the block 5B because there's 2 blocks, it's going to be which side is the 8A going to go on and which side is the 8B going to go on. So know that we're doing block 5B. The A is going to be on my right side here. Yep, it was on my left. So I'm going to take the A, and it's going to go here. The B is going to go on the opposite side. So it goes here. Again, these are both up here on top where I have the white of this block right here on top. The light is on the bottom, the white is on top. So now we're going to grab our 8 C's because they go on all the bottom sections. So you're going to need 2 8 C's per block. Keeping everything clipped together. And you're going to have one go here. And you're going to have the last one go here. So I didn't really see a rhyme or reason why I couldn't. Typically when I do this type of block, I do the opposite corners. And I think you can still do the same thing. You just don't want to get turned around. So take your time and just clip it. Grab a clip and clip it into place. Because if you want to do your opposite corners, go ahead and have those clipped into place. So we're going to do opposite sides. I'm just clipping them on here. They're not lined up correctly. They're just being clipped in. Because I'm going to want to put my centers in the center, and I'll show you that. All right, so we're going to go to the, I'll go ahead and get this last block sewed up. Oh, I didn't put it on the right block. I used my 12.5 inch. You see that? I thought it was right there.
Weird from the top view. I was like, huh.
Well, yeah, well, it's dirty. I've been using my 12.5 inch block because it's gotten dirty. So let's grab that. Put that one there. That's what my final squaring up block at the end. Okay. Y'all know how to clean them, right? Just a little bit of packing tape on there and just tap it on there and it gets all that little debris off. Doesn't matter which one you start on. I'm just going to start on which one's closest to me, and I'm going to sew this side down and then this side down, and I'm going to even it up, but I'm going to make sure I have all the other blocks out of my way when I do my stitch down. So I'm starting with the one that has the light fabric on top. So what I'm looking, you've got your cross seam right here. So I want my point to be in that center of that cross seam. Right there, I want the point to be on that center. When we sew this together like a big 4-patch, I want my seam or the point of that block to be right there on that point. And then I'm lining up my edges. And if it moves a little bit, I'm going to adjust it, because to me that's one of the most important points. It might be a little off on this edge, but I want my point to always be right there at that center. And then I'm going to stitch it all the way down. So I'm going to start and just do my skin cord. I got to move my foot a little bit from the last stitching that I did. And we're going to stitch it down. You can hold everything in place. You could use pins, clips, just hold everything in place. And get to the other side. Now I'm going to flip it to the other side. We're going to do the opposite side on this one. Getting all the other components out of the way. Same thing, I'm lining up that point to be on that resting on the center seam. And adjusting it as I need. Make sure it's not shifting on me. You want to use a clip to hold it while you're adjusting everything. Right where I need it. All right, and then doing our stitch all the way down. No stretching or pulling. Again, that's a big, huge bias that you got going on right there. So before I move on to the other two sides, I'm going to go ahead and finger press this back. Just rolling it back and finger pressing it back. You could take it to your iron. I'm just finger pressing on both sides. Not putting a lot of pressure on it, not stretching it. Just tapping it down. And then we're going to now go ahead and get the next two sides done. I'm lining up again that point on my center seam and then sliding it back to make sure I'm lining it up at the edges. And what's still right here, it's going to be right there at that 1/4 inch where I need for it to be. And then the other side. Rolling it back to the edge, making sure my point's on the center. There we go. I'm going to press this back before we go to trimming off any of these little areas that we need to trim. Again, we needed this to measure at 12.5 inches. I would prefer it to be slightly larger than that, so you can trim it down a little bit. I hate to be under. Make sure you have everything going the way you want in the back. We do have some dog ears we're going to remove. And before we do any trimming, so this was our A. Oh, hi, hold on. I'm freaking out, making sure I got there. There you go. There it is. There's our B. I want to make sure. I get so turned around doing this, I swear. But it's going to be the same, except this is opposite. So let's go ahead and get this trimmed up to what we need, and then get these little dog ears off and see how close we are to 12.5 inches for this whole thing. Let's go ahead and get these components out of our way. Lots of pieces going on this one. And then we're going to take a sneak peek and see what number 6 is, because I can't even remember if I've even looked at it. All these are labeled, and I'm using my little sticker, so I want these way out of my way. All right, so when you get it done, it says you're making 4 A's, 4 B's, and then you're going to trim them. They need to be 12.5 inches unfinished. And I am right at 12.5 inches, so it looks like it's going to be dog ears only that's going to be coming off. A little bit on this side. So let's get our little tool out and see where we are. Got my 12.5-inch square. And there's not really much seam allowance that you're going to be, you got to pay attention to the ones that's at the center pieces. So those are the areas you want to make sure that you're not going to be trimming off any of your seam allowances. So I'm just going to set my 12.5-inch block on here. And I am centering this up. It's going to trim off any excess that I have and keep it all even. This is my 12.5-inch block, so going all the way around it, it should be coming out perfect. Let's see. Let's see how we do. It's catching our dog ears. A little bit of overhang here. Just little slivers coming off. And one more side. All right, let's see the magic reveal, huh? Oh, look, I got my seam allowances all where I need for them to be. Looking pretty good. What do y'all think? Is that pretty? Oh, yeah. Isn't that pretty? All right, let's put her on the wall. This is our B. 5A, 5B, opposite, everything the same except these two pieces. You're going to need to make 8 of this one and 8 of that one. Holy cow. Oh, let me look, because now I'm like, what? 4 and 4. 4 of 5As, which is still double than what we've been doing before. We were doing, you got to make 4 of this one, 4 of this one, 4 of this one, 4 of this one. But this one, 5A, you're making 4 of 5As, and then you're making 4 of the 5Bs. So that will finish out this month of block 5. Whew, this one was a booger, at least for me. I got turned around a lot. So let's pray that number 6 is a little bit easier. Let's see, number 6. You know what? Number 6 looks easier. It's just a single page, and we have to make 4 of them. So yeah, so for our June block, a lot of things we've been doing. We've got looks like we've got flying geese, 4 flying geese, solid blocks here. I'm not quite sure if these are half square triangles or if that's I think they're probably half square triangles, as simple this looks like to be. It looks like you're doing a 4 patch of half square triangles, and then you got your flying geeses, and then you got your solid blocks on the end. So it looks like we can take a breath on number 6. Number 6 looks to be pretty darn good. A lot easier than this one was. I mean, I don't know if James can get an overhead here of what I got going on here. I have such, I'm telling you, this one was a booger to me. I just got turned around, and then I didn't have as much time. Well, if I could have just been able to do the class directly the day of or the next day, I think the long weekend kind of had me thrown off, and I had to refresh my memory and coming in a little bit late today. But all of these, I won't be using these again once I get this finished. At least I got a good start to get these all finished before next month. I'll probably get to that maybe, I don't know if I can get to it this week, but I use the Post-it notes, and they have just been totally invaluable. Thumbs up. Are y'all using the Post-it notes? Are you finding that they really help? This one here, it's just a godsend. You really will be using the Post-it notes a lot. So I said get a big old box of them. Going into month 6 looks to be pretty good. It's just a single page, unlike this one 5, we had 2 pages. The cutting wasn't that hard for me. I just found myself getting turned around, and I just don't know if it was because of the mirror image that I was struggling with. And then doing those blocks that we had, the unit 4As and 4Bs, just was a little bit different for me. All right, so going into month 6 looks to be pretty simple, like we're doing. Half square triangle units is what makes the center. And then you're going to be doing the flying geese again, and then your solid pieces. So this one looks like it'd be a really good block. 7, so this is our June, our July. July looks fun. All right, so you're going to be, but you're making unit 9. And it is going to be 4As and 4Bs, but also the top and bottom. So it's just the laying out of your flying geese. So it's a simple block. It's just a lot of flying geese and the way you're turning things around. Number 8 also has mirror images. So you'll be making 4 of 10A and 4 of 10B. So that one's going to be done on August. I need to tell you that. That one, our August class, is going to be done on August the 20th instead of the last Tuesday in August. I will be actually out of town. I got a wedding that I'm going to in upstate New York. So August the 20th, be sure to mark your calendar. That's when we'll be doing month 8. And then month 9 is, we're making these long strip units for block 11 because we're really getting close on that one to start framing all of our pieces in, because month 10, I think month 10, we're going to be just sitting and sewing all of our blocks together. We're going to be getting the quilt layout done, and we'll be sewing it all together. So that puts us into October. So to me, if looking at all the blocks that we have done so far, I must honestly say block 5 was the hardest one for me. I got turned around a lot on it. But I hope you guys have fun doing it. It was fun. It's just a lot of pieces. So what do y'all think? Let me see. Hey Verna, how you doing? Miss Claudia? Yes, next one does look easier. This one really wasn't that hard. It just had little bitty pieces. You see I got a big boo-boo on this one, so I was going to use this one. But my center is way off. And I've already got it sewed in there, so I'm going to be doing some ripping and stitching and fixing this one here. That can be seen from 10 feet away, so that one's not looking good. So I got to fix my 3B. My 3A looks good. But lots of pieces here. Continue to save all your extra pieces as you're going through and cutting these out. If you got the template sets, it makes it so much easier to be able to use up some of your smaller pieces and keep some of these bigger pieces for future projects, or maybe if you're going to make some accessories to go with your big quilt. We should be getting the next one in pretty soon, so we'll start getting the sign up for that one. And then the next one that I'm looking at, it was a suggestion from all of you. It was more that black and white one, or neutral color, and I really like the idea of doing that one. That one comes later on in the year, but what I loved about that one was you could go ahead and do the fabric kit that comes with it, but I think it was Kathy, I think it's you, Miss Kathy, that actually said that it would be a great project for us to do it scrappy. So that one's going to be probably coming later on in the year. That was one of the ones I'd lean toward. James, was there something?
Oh no, that should be it.
Are you-
On my end, I'm good.
You're good, guys. I saw your hand. I didn't know if that, what that was.
Arms falling asleep.
His arms fell asleep. All right, guys. I was surprised. I didn't think we'd be able to get this one done by 4 o'clock, but I'm thankful that we are. So all good. Turned out really good. So you just go ahead and make all, like you see, I only got 2 done, so I still got to make a whole lot of blocks yet on this one. I don't think I'll be able to get to it tomorrow because you should see all the templates I just got sent up here for me to test of some new things that's coming. All right, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you're watching this on the replay, please leave a comment because later on I will probably, maybe tomorrow, I'll go back and see the comments. And if anything, you have a question, just put it in here. I'll read through those. You can also reach me at learn@martellinotions.com, and I'll be glad to get back with you on that. All right, so this wraps up month 5 of our Tealing Good block of the month. The next time you see us will be, James, what's that date?
For next month?
Yep, I think I got it. Hold on. Do you know what the last Tuesday of June will be? June the 25th. The next class we have is going to be on June the 25th. Then we'll have July the 30th, and then going into August, we're going to do that one exactly a week earlier than the 27th. It's going to be on the 20th. All right, so that's good. So no fabric sale this week. So next time I see you guys will be Friday on Weekly Wrap Up. Y'all have a fantastic evening. Bye-bye, everybody.